10th chapter and the first verse, the locusts. The Lord said to Moses, "Go to Pharaoh. I've made him and his officials stubborn. I did this so I could show them my powerful miracles. I also did this so you could tell your children and your grandchildren about the miracles and other wonderful things I have done in Egypt. Then all of you will know that I am the Lord." So Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh. They told him, "The Lord, the God of the Hebrews, says, how long will you refuse to obey me? Let my people go to worship me. If you refuse to let my people go, then tomorrow I will bring locusts into your country. The locusts will cover the land. There will be so many locusts that you will not be able to see the ground. Anything that was left from the hailstorm will be eaten by the locusts. The locusts will eat all the leaves from every tree in the field. They will fill all your houses and all your officials' houses and all the houses in Egypt. There will be more locusts than your fathers or your grandfathers have ever seen. There will be more locusts than there have ever been since people began living in Egypt." Then Moses turned and left Pharaoh. Then the officials asked Pharaoh, "How long will we be trapped by these people? Let the men go to worship the Lord their God. If you don't let them go before you know it, Egypt will be destroyed." So Pharaoh told his officials to bring Moses and Aaron back to him. Pharaoh said to them, "Go and worship the Lord your God, but tell me, just who is going?" Moses answered, "All our people, young and old, will go, and we will take our sons and daughters and our sheep and cattle with us. We will all go because the Lord's festival is for all of us." Pharaoh said to them, "The Lord really will have to be with you before I let you and all your children leave Egypt. Look, you are planning something evil. The men can go worship the Lord. That is what you asked for in the beginning, but all your people cannot go." And Pharaoh sent Moses and Aaron away. The Lord told Moses, "Raise your hand over the land of Egypt, and the locusts will come. They will spread all over the land of Egypt and will eat all the plants that the hail did not destroy." So Moses raised his walking stick over the land of Egypt, and the Lord caused a strong wind to blow from the east. The wind blew all that day and night. When the morning came, the wind had brought the locusts to the land of Egypt. The locusts flew into the country of Egypt and landed on the ground. There were more locusts than had ever been in Egypt, and there will never again be that many locusts there. They covered the ground, and the whole country became dark. The locusts ate every plant on the ground and all the fruit trees that the hail had not destroyed. There were no leaves left on any of the trees or plants anywhere in Egypt. Pharaoh quickly called for Moses and Aaron. Pharaoh said, "I have sinned against the Lord your God and against you. Now forgive me for my sins this time. Ask the Lord to remove this death from me." Moses left Pharaoh and prayed to the Lord. So the Lord changed the wind. He made a very strong wind blow from the west, and it blew the locusts out of Egypt and into the Red Sea. Not one locust was left in Egypt. But the Lord caused Pharaoh to be stubborn again, and Pharaoh did not let the Israelites go. The darkness. Then the Lord told Moses, "Raise your hand into the air, and darkness will cover Egypt. It will be so dark you can feel it." So Moses raised his hand into the air, and a cloud of darkness covered Egypt. The darkness stayed in Egypt for 3 days. None of the people could see each other, and no one got up to go any place for 3 days. But there was light in all the places where the Israelites lived. Again, Pharaoh called for Moses. He said, "Go and worship the Lord. You can take your children with you, but you must leave your sheep and cattle here." Moses said, "No, we will take them all. In fact, you will give us offerings and sacrifices for us to use in worshiping the Lord our God. Yes, we will take our animals with us to worship the Lord our God. Not one hoof will be left behind. We don't know yet exactly what we will need to worship the Lord. We will learn that only when we get there." The Lord made Pharaoh stubborn again, so he refused to let them go. Then Pharaoh told Moses, "Get out of here. I don't want you to come here again. The next time you come to see me, you will die." Then Moses told Pharaoh, "You're right about one thing. I will not come to see you again." Exodus 11, the death of the firstborn. Then the Lord told Moses, "I have one more disaster to bring against Pharaoh in Egypt. After this, he will ask you to leave Egypt. In fact, he will force you to leave this country. You must give this message to the Israelites, men and women. You must ask your neighbors to give you things made of silver and gold." The Lord caused the Egyptians to be kind to the Israelites. The Egyptians, even Pharaoh's own officials, already considered Moses to be a great man. Moses said to the king, "The Lord says, at midnight tonight I will go throughout Egypt, and every firstborn son in Egypt will die, from the firstborn son of Pharaoh, the ruler of Egypt, to the firstborn son of the slave girl grinding grain. Even the firstborn animals will die. The crying in Egypt will be worse than at any time in the past or any time in the future. But none of the Israelites or their animals will be hurt. Not even a dog will bark at them. Then you will know that the Lord has treated Israel differently from Egypt. All these officials of yours will come down and bow to me. They will say, 'Leave and take all your people with you. Only then will I leave.'" Then in anger, Moses left the meeting with Pharaoh. Then the Lord told Moses, the reason Pharaoh did not listen to you is so that I could show my great power in Egypt. That is why Moses and Aaron did all these great miracles in front of Pharaoh. And that is why the Lord made Pharaoh so stubborn that he would not let the Israelites leave his country. Exodus chapter 12, Passover. While Moses and Aaron were still in Egypt, the Lord spoke to them and said, this month will be the first month of the year for you. This command is for the whole community of Israel. On the 10th day of this month, each man must get one lamb for the people in his house. If there are not enough people in his house to eat a whole lamb, then he should invite some of his neighbors to share the meal. There must be enough lamb for everyone to eat. The lamb must be a 1-year-old male, and it must be completely healthy. This animal can be either a young sheep or a goat. You should watch over the animal until the 14th day of the month. On that day, all the people of the community of Israel must kill these animals just before dark. You must collect the blood from these animals and put it on the top and the sides of the door frame of every house where the people eat this meal. On this night, you must roast lamb and eat all the meat. You must also eat bitter herbs and bread made without yeast. You must not eat the lamb raw or boiled in water. You must roast the whole lamb over a fire. The lamb must still have its head, legs, and inner parts. My God. You must eat all the meat that night, Jesus. If any of the meat is left until morning, you must burn it in the fire. When you eat the meal, you must be fully dressed and ready to travel. You must have your sandals on your feet and your walking stick in your hand. You must eat in a hurry because this is the Lord's Passover. Tonight I will go through the land of Egypt and kill every firstborn man and animal in Egypt. In this way, I will judge all the gods of Egypt and show that I am the Lord. But the blood on your houses will be a special sign. When I see the blood, I will pass over your house. I will cause bad things to happen to the people of Egypt, but none of these bad diseases will hurt you. You will always remember tonight. It will be a special festival for you. Your descendants will honor the Lord with this festival forever. For this festival, you will eat bread made without yeast for 7 days. On the first day, you will remove all the yeast from your houses. No one should eat any yeast for the full 7 days of this festival. Anyone who eats yeast must be separated from the rest of Israel. There will be holy assemblies on the first day and the last day of the festival. You must not do any work on these days. The only work you can do is preparing the food for your meals. You must remember the festival of unleavened bread, because on this day I took all of your people out of Egypt in groups. All of your descendants must remember this day. This is a law that will last forever. So on the evening of the 14th day of the first month, you will begin eating bread without yeast. You will eat this bread until the evening of the 21st day of the same month. For 7 days, there must not be any yeast in your houses. Anyone, either a citizen of Israel or a foreigner living among you, who eats yeast at this time must be separated from the rest of Israel. During this festival, you must not eat any yeast. You must eat bread without yeast wherever you live. So Moses called all the elders together and told them, get the lambs for your families, kill the lambs for the Passover. Take bunches of hyssop and dip them in the bowls filled with blood. Paint the blood on the sides and on the top of each door frame. No one must leave their house until morning. At the time the Lord goes through Egypt to kill the firstborn, he will see the blood on the sides and top of each door frame. Then he will protect that house and not let the destroyer come into any of your houses and hurt you. You must remember this command. This is a law for you and your descendants forever. You must remember to do this even when you go to the land the Lord has given you. When your children ask you, why are we doing this seminary? Why are we doing this ceremony? You will say, this Passover is to honor the Lord, because when we were in Egypt, he passed over the houses of Israel. He killed the Egyptians, but he saved the people in our houses. Then the people bowed down and worshiped the Lord. The Lord had given this command to Moses and Aaron, so the Israelites did what the Lord commanded. At midnight, the Lord killed all the firstborn sons in Egypt, from the firstborn son of Pharaoh who ruled Egypt to the firstborn son of the prisoner sitting in jail. Also, all the firstborn animals died. That night, someone died in every house in Egypt. Pharaoh, his officials, and all the people of Egypt began to cry loudly. Israel leaves Egypt. So that night, Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron and said to them, get up and lead my people. You and your people can do as you say. Go and worship the Lord. Take all your sheep and cattle with you, just as you said you would. Go and say a blessing for me too. The people of Egypt also asked him to hurry and leave. They said, if you don't leave, we will all die. The Israelites did not have time to put yeast in their bread. They just wrapped the bowls of dough with cloth and carried them on their shoulders. Then the Israelites did what Moses asked them to do. They went to their Egyptian neighbors and asked for clothing and made things from silver and gold. The Lord caused the Egyptians to be kind to the Israelites, so the Egyptians gave their riches to the Israelites. The Israelites traveled from Ramses to Succoth. There were about 600,000 men, not counting the small boys. A great number of people who were not Israelites went with them, along with many people, sheep, cattle, and other livestock. People did not have time to put yeast in their bread or make any special food for their journey, so they had to bake their bread without yeast. The Israelites had lived in Egypt for 430 years. After 430 years, to the very day, all the armies of the Lord left Egypt. That the night they left, the Lord watched over them to bring them safely out of Egypt. So the Israelites will always celebrate this night each year to remember what the Lord did. The Lord told Moses and Aaron, these are the rules for Passover. No foreigner is allowed to eat the Passover meal. A foreigner who is only a hired worker or is only staying in your country is not allowed to eat the meal. But if someone buys a slave and circumcises him, then the slave can eat the Passover meal. Each family must eat the meal in one house. None of the food is to be taken outside the house. Don't break any of the lamb's bones. The whole community of Israel must do this ceremony. If a foreigner living among you wants to share in the Lord's Passover, he must be circumcised. Then he can share in the meal like any other citizen of Israel. But a man who is not circumcised cannot eat the Passover meal. The same rules are for everyone. It doesn't matter if they're citizens or foreigners living among you. So all the Israelites obeyed the commands that the Lord gave to Moses and Aaron. On that same day, the Lord led all the Israelites out of the country of Egypt. The people left in groups. Please place it in the comment section. This is the word of the Lord. And make sure you follow, like, share,